Call this public meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world, and also for those who have passed away in our community. Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Here.
Mr. Schuster?
Present.
Dr. Rothchild?
Here.
Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Mr. Donahue?
Here. An executive session was held tonight, before tonight's meeting, to discuss personnel. Please dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Third order, 3A, contract with Aspirant Consulting Group, LLC, for police accreditations consultant services. 3B, correspondence received on June 7th, 2022, from the City of Scranton's Law Department regarding Labor Council invoices. 3C, correspondence received on June 7th, 2022, from OECD Executive Director regarding May 2022 Code Enforcement Report. 3D, Single Tax Office City Funds Distributed Comparison Reports received June 9th, 2022. 3E, correspondence received June 9th, 2022 from Mayor Paige Cognetti in response to Council's questions regarding American Rescue Plan Act Director. 3F, correspondence received June 9th, 2022 from Mayor Paige Cognetti regarding Federal Government Affairs Assistance. 3G, correspondence dated June 6, 2022, from William R. Laser, CPA, and John J. McGovern, Jr., Esquire, regarding payroll preparation tax.
Are there any comments on any of the third order items?
Yeah, I have one quick one, and it is 3E. And I know that the vote was already taken last week for the ARPA director, but I still have concerns as to, the backup or in what's presented tonight in 3E, that the director is going to spend 19% of her time distributing or handling $68 million. 19% of her, and get an extra $35,000 a year. So 19% of her time is like 7.5 hours a week for an extra $600. I still think there's too much on her plate. This is a nice gig if you can get it, but I still have concerns. That is all I have.
Are there any other comments on third order items?
Yes, so I have a few. I might as well start with item 3E. Similar to Mr. McAndrew, I expressed last week that I thought that this individual was spread too thin. When we look at the three departments that the director is going to oversee, 64% is dedicated to OECD, 19% to ARP director, and then 17% to code enforcement. I just feel it's spread too thin. And one thing I'll bring into that is when we look at the justification for 3F, in that document, it states that this same director, as well as a grant writer, do need help because there is a large amount of work to be done. So I can't see where we could say we're not spread too thin in one area, but then use that same justification for another piece of legislation. Also, one thing I did want to bring up, we did receive our legal billing that I've been asking for about 2 months now. And in a memorandum that accompanied that, I just wanted to point out a sentence that says, in order to responsibly adhere to the promise of transparency, the law department reviewed the invoices and redacted information. And I don't know if anybody has seen some of these documents, but most of the information has been redacted. So just to point that out. That's all.
Are there any other comments on any third order items? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have any announcements at this time?
I have a couple. So first of all, I want to wish everybody a happy Flag Day. Let's throw it out there to Old Glory. Secondly, I want to provide some kudos to the firefighters yesterday that heroically pulled out a dog and his owner. Great job, fire department. And then I don't want to forget Father's Day. I almost forgot Mother's Day. So of course, I don't want to forget Father's Day. I want to wish every father out there, or those that take the role of father, a very happy and enjoyable Father's Day. That is all I have.
Do any other council members have any announcements?
Yeah, I also want to wish all who celebrate a happy Father's Day for those who are fathers or parents. And I also wanted to remind people about the Juneteenth celebration. That's also taking place on the same day, so that's on Sunday, and that's from 12 to 5, and that'll be taking place at 1902 North Main Avenue, which was the old PNC building there at, I think it's East Market and Main Avenue. And so there will be a lot of fun activities and people there. I think that's everything that I had. Thank you.
Do any other council members have any announcements? I have a couple. This coming weekend, the Mary Mother of God Parish is holding their annual block party, Friday between 6 and 11 and Saturday between 5 and 11 at the Parish Center on West Market Street. All your favorite picnic foods and beverages on Friday. Tribute to veterans will be held at 6 p.m., followed by Picture Perfect at 7 p.m. On Saturday, Jim Sermonero at 5:30 p.m., followed by the Chatter at 7 p.m. Also, the family and friends of Colleen Calpin Strong are sponsoring a fundraiser to help assist Colleen and her family during their time of need. Due to an unforeseen medical situation, the Strongs will need to build an ADA accessible ramp and an ADA accessible bathroom on the first floor of their home. Not to mention other expenses that will be needed to help make their lives more comfortable. There's going to be a basket raffle fundraiser held on Sunday, July 10th at the American Legion, Post 568 on Bernie Avenue in Manuka from noon till 6. There will not be a charge to get in, and everyone is welcome to attend. They will have assorted basket raffles and other raffles available throughout the day. They're asking if anybody is willing to donate a gift card or a basket for the raffle to please contact Lindsay at 570-468-4413 or Christy at 570-498-4344, or you could drop off a donation at Joyce's Cafe on Bernie Avenue. They'll also be setting up at the Legion on Saturday, July 9th, if you'd like to bring a donation the day before the event. And that's all I have. Mr. Voldenberg?
I'm sorry,
Fourth order.
I had one more thing to add for an announcement. I apologize. I had also wanted to mention the Greek Food Festival that's taking place this week. So that's starting, I think that started today at 11 a.m., goes until 7 p.m., and will go through June 18th, which is Friday. And that's at the Annunciation Greek Orthodox Church at 505 North Washington Avenue. You can go online. They have a website where you can order food ahead of time, or you can call it in and pick it up that way, or you could go in and order it as well. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I could add, just want to remind everyone about the concert series that's happening up at Nayout Park. I think it's typically Sunday afternoon. They typically have a band at 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock. It's free. They've done a tremendous job up there preparing the bandstand and the grounds. So if anyone gets an opportunity to stop up there. Also, the East Mountain Residents Association is going to be sponsoring, first time ever, an outdoor movie at Robinson Park. I believe that's Sunday, June 26th. I'll try to get all the details for next week. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Voldenberg?
Fourth order, citizens' participation.
First on the list is Neil Ackerman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm here talking about the Nayoak swimming pool, which I call a pool for all ages. Now, we have to be a leader and not be a follower. Mr. Schuster told me, I was talking with him, he said, all of a sudden they're having, everyone is building splash pads. Everyone is building splash pads. Just because everyone is building splash pads, we don't have to follow them. In fact, if everyone's doing something, that's good reason not to do it. So, because a splash pad is nice for little toddlers or little kids, but not for adults. And we want a pool for everyone. So we should really, really think clearly about that. A personal note, I came to Scranton in 1985, and my daughter had 2 children, and we started out before there was we went there almost every day. There used to be a children's pool, a little wading pool, and after that they went to the steps of the children's pool, and they graduated eventually to the adult pool, and then they went on the diving board, and now my daughter joins me doing laps all the time. That's what I've been doing for the last 35 years. And now my daughter always spends the summer with us. She lives in another country, comes back with us for 2 months, and her children are starting the same thing at the steps and things. Unfortunately, the COVID virus messed us up, and then the pool collapsed and things like that. So it was interrupted. But but you know, it was a cycle of life, and we really would like to have this continue. Now I know there's a problem, it's a money with this, but you know, let's not give up, because I don't know how much money there is, but there is the COVID relief fund we have. Now, what does the COVID relief fund have to do with swimming pool? Well, it does, because being outside, being healthy, being swimming, vitamin D and things like that, it helps everyone's immune system, not only for COVID, for everything else. So it's really a health issue to have a swimming pool that people can really swim and can really get some activity. Also, if you need money, there's corporate sponsors. Let's not give up on PNC Bank, Delta Medics, or Geisinger. They're things they want to have the PNC pool, something like that. Good. If they give us $1 million, why not? Let them have the pool like that. Then there's also federal and state grants. Let's look into that. And then also, we're in a tremendous situation. The mayor has a good relation with President Biden. He came here and she went there. You have Bob Casey, who lives a few blocks away from the pool, senator who's been there for quite a while now. And you have Matt Courtright, who's on the finance committee, he's chairman of the committee or something like that. Come on, we have everyone to get money. We have the advantage right now. It's working for us. And we have President Biden, who I'm sure used to swim in Lincoln Pool before, you know. So we have people that know the pool and know Scranton. And certainly, you know, when the government talks about trillions and billions, a few million, I think, for a worthy cause, you know, should be able to be raised. Now, the project, do it right. The project is a once-in-a-lifetime endeavor. A lifetime, we're talking about 60, 70, 80, hopefully people live longer than that. It has to be done right and not in just a convenient way. Yes, the cost is not cheap, but I teach math at the University of Scranton, so I look at things like with mathematics. So if you take the cost, whatever it is, 3 million, 2 million, 4 million, whatever it is, divide it by 60 years. And then divide it by 10 weeks, which we use it every summer. Divide it by 7 days. Divide it by 100 people that use it every day, let's say, which is a modest amount. And then all of a sudden, the cost for each bather is reasonable. And then, of course, you're going to charge money for coming into the pool and things like that to cut down the cost. So it really isn't too bad. And like I said, I look around at everyone here. I'm the oldest one here. When you're my age, you look at things differently. When you're young, you're just right in front of you. But when you see the picture of 70, 80 years, you know, like that, you see it's well worthwhile. So we should look to provide a pool for all ages. Don't do it the easy way. Do it the right way. And I hope everyone, the mayor, will be able to take that in consideration, and everyone will, because it's it's a once in a lifetime. You're not going to have it another 60, 70 years, that people will be able to do what you can do right now. So I hope everyone, please convey this to the mayor, and I think it's very serious, and it's a great opportunity for everyone. So please don't mess it up.
Thank you, Mr. Ackerman.
Thank you.
Next on the list, Joan Hodowanitz.
Joan Hodowanitz, Scranton. Today's June 14th. It's Flag Day, and it's the 247th birthday of the United States Army. And it's the 165th day of the year. 45% of the year is gone. So what is the status of negotiations on our 3 labor contracts?
Negotiations are still ongoing.
Is there any light at the end of the tunnel?
All I know is negotiations are still ongoing.
Well, I took a look at 3B, which was all the invoices, all 116 pages of them. There's not much content. As you know, everything was blacked out. But I said, gee, I wonder what the financial total of these 48 invoices are. From November 30th last year through March 31st of this year, these invoices, the total is $171,601.07. This doesn't include April, May, or June. And God knows how long this process is going to be stretched out. I personally think that the unions are not going to be happy with a 2% pay raise when we're looking at a potential COLA raise for next year of 8%. So can you say arbitration? So when we get the total for these contracts, you're going to have these legal fees and any salaries and wages which go beyond what we put in the 2022 operating budget. And it could be a handful of change, and I'll be watching. Now, that's the bad news. The good news, today, IT finally posted on the city's website the current clerical union contract, which was signed March 31st, 2021. That contract expires at the end of next year. I hope somebody in the administration is setting up a suspense file so that before it expires, we have done the negotiations, hired a special labor counsel, and there's a seamless transition from one labor contract to the next. And if this administration doesn't do that, shame on them, because that doesn't take a PhD in rocket science. Let's see, just so you know, I'm counting. The 2021 audit is now 14 days late. And item 3G, the correspondence from Mr. Lazor and Mr. McGovern on the payroll preparation tax. I wasn't able to come last week because I had an adverse reaction to my second booster. I've got my barf bag at the ready. But I wanted to ask questions about the taxing the self-employed and landlords. And I would like to know, hopefully you can answer this, is are we going to relook this payroll preparation tax, or are we just going full steam ahead? What are you going to do? Are you going to make some kid that sells lemonade in the summer pay it? Or some kid that shovels snow in the winter? I mean, they're self-employed. Is there an age limit? This thing, they raised some very good questions, and I think I and other people would like to know the answers before that legislation is passed. And let's see what else. 3E, the mayor's answers on the ARPA director. It was interesting, but I still want to know the number of hours Ms. Cipriani is working. I don't care about percentages, because they mean nothing if you don't know the number of hours. And that needs to be redone. And finally, this 3F, the Open Government Quarterly Report with all the neighborhoods. Why didn't they address downtown Scranton? You have blighted properties, you have people living downtown, you have all kinds of issues, quality of life issues. Why is downtown Scranton just left off the map? I would like to know that so that the next quarterly report talks about downtown Scranton. You've got places like my mother's table on Penn Avenue, which is starting to crumble again, and you've got that building boarded up next to Bona Pizza. A lot of places need to be addressed. And you got people living in apartments throughout downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list, Les Spindler.
Good evening, Council. Les Spindler, city resident, homeowner. First off, I didn't attend the meeting last week, but I watched it. Kudos to you, Councilman Schuster, for looking out for the taxpayers and finding all those discrepancies with the pool. And a couple things that, well, I brought up the week before about the turf. And I heard you say last week that real grass would be a lot less expensive. I was shocked at how much less expensive it would be than the
It was
turf.
like $200,000
Yeah,
less.
that's unbelievable. And next thing, I don't remember everything you talked about, but the bathhouse. That's, from what I'm hearing, that's not only like 18 years old. It was built in the Doherty administration. Why tear it down and build a new one? If they want it bigger, blow out a wall and just add on a little bit. You gotta try to save money. So, President Donahue, do you plan on getting the mayor and OEC director back in here and discuss this?
Yeah, they're coming in with an updated, based off the discussion we had a couple
okay.
weeks ago.
Oh, you have spoken to them?
Yes.
Okay.
We were thinking maybe next week, but that might be a little too soon, so right now we're aiming for July 5th.
Okay, great. Next thing. I'm sure a lot of people know, some might not. On Friday, there's a new business opening up, an ice cream place on Adams Avenue, Boozy Bees. And according to the name, you can probably tell that there's alcohol in the ice cream. One problem I have with this, is it a city ordinance with the open container law? Is that a city law, a state law? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
Anyway, you're not allowed to take the ice cream out of the place because of the open container law. That's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of. You're not walking out with a can of beer or a bottle of Jack Daniels. It's ice cream with a little alcohol in it. I mean, here's a business that moved here that they want to do well, and we're going to hurt them because people might not want to go there. They might not want to eat there. They might want to just take it out. To not let them take it out is totally ridiculous. I'll bet the amount of alcohol in that wouldn't even register on the breathalyzer test. So I think there should be an exception made to that. Here's a business that moves here, and we got to try and help them out. So I think that's terrible if that law is enforced. Next thing, I spoke about this last time I was here. It's really not city business, but it could be. The gun laws. I'm glad to see the Republicans and Democrats got together and came upon an agreement, I guess, but those things they agreed upon aren't going to solve the problem. You got to get rid of these automatic weapons. That's the problem. I don't care if there's red flag laws and background checks, but you can do that all you want. As long as these guns are available to me and you, which shouldn't be, you're still going to have these mass killings. And like I said, they showed on the news last week, there was a graph. We're so far ahead of every other country in the world as far as mass shootings. It's outrageous. It's despicable. So we got to, I don't care how many other laws they make. The only thing, and the president said this, and I agree with him, you got to get these guns up. They shouldn't be sold. I mean, people might be able to get them, but they shouldn't be sold in gun stores or gun shows or whatever. The gun rights activists say, oh, you're violating our Second Amendment. Well, give them a gun that they had back when the Second Amendment was written. It was a one-shot musket. It took a couple of minutes to load. You didn't have these weapons you have today. I've always thought that for years the Second Amendment should be rewritten because you didn't have the guns back then that you have now. Lastly, I hope somebody from Lackawanna County Commissioner's Office is listening. My wife and I attempted to go to that fair, the Saturday of the fair. We never made it there. We sat on Montage Mountain Road for probably about 45 minutes. The line was all the way down to the beginning of Montage Road. And we got to where the traffic light is for Glenmara. Music Police stopped everybody. They had a car across the road. It sold out, the parking lot's filled. Now, what rocket scientists planned this? It was a terrible planning. First of all, they shouldn't have had it the same weekend the rail riders were home. They could have parked everybody, or a lot of people, at the stadium and shuttled them up to the Montage. They've done that in the past. So I hope they're listening. They better get their act together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spindler. Next on the list, Norma Jeffries.
Norman Jeffries, Scranton resident. And, you know, you grow up and you want to always thank those people, because we're always, as human beings, we're quick to find fault. But I want to thank the IT department that they worked to get our information up online. And I want to thank Councilman Schuster for working with me and with them. And it's up online. And I guess I might have been a little bit too pushy about it, but the reason I wanted it up is that, you know, when you go to the website and there's a tab that says events, and so if someone's visiting and they say, what's to do in Scranton, and they go on the website and hit events, you know, it's great to see the information that's there. We're working very hard to make this first inaugural Electric City Flowers Show a success. It's going to be on August the 6th. And over the weeks, I will continue to give information about that. So kudos to the IT department and whoever got that information up for us. I do appreciate it. The second thing I wanted to talk about, nobody from council mentioned it, so I thought maybe I'll just scratch it from my list if you mentioned it, but you didn't, about the Juneteenth celebration on Sunday. And you know, growing up here, I grew up here in Scranton, and there was no mention of Juneteenth. I only learned about it maybe about 10 years ago. And so it's something that we need to take the opportunity to learn more about it. You know, it can just be another holiday, but it's more than that. It's more about our culture. And even though it's about the slavery, our whole country was built on slavery. So we all should learn more and more and more about what happened, because the kids are not getting it in school. As far as I know, I don't have any kids in school, but as far as I know I didn't get it at school. So it's going to be on Sunday, and it's going to be up at on Main Avenue, at Market Street and Main Avenue, and it's there'll be vendors there, and there'll also be a table if anyone's interested in the NAACP membership. There'll be a table, and there's other tables that will be there. So I had to mention it, being that you guys did not. The next thing I wanted to talk about was comments that were made last week. And, you know, as you're sitting there, and I go home and I listen to the tape again, because I wasn't sure about what I heard, but I wanted to make sure and make everyone aware of these comments that were made. One of the speakers mentioned, he started off about gun violence, and we're all concerned about gun violence. And because it could be any of us. We could be at the Walmart, we could be in our cars, just parked at a red light, and we could be involved in a gun violence. So he went on and he had some very good statements to say. And then I was listening, and then he made a comment that it was a joke, that growing up, that black kids did not know who their fathers were. I take offense to that. I grew up here in Scranton at Kressler Court. There was 9 of us 5 girls and 4 boys. There was, the girls were in one bedroom, 5 girls in one bedroom. There were 4 boys in the other bedroom, and my mom and dad were in the other bedroom. I grew up with my mom and dad. My dad was there for us. I was in Kressler Court, and there were a lot of dads that were there. So I don't know where the speaker got that stereotypical phrase from. I'll get emotional now, thinking about that he is a grown man in all these years. That's still in his mind about things that were a joke. That's no joke. If anybody is in a fatherless home, it's nothing to joke about. I did not grow up in a fatherless home. None of my friends that I knew grew up in a fatherless home. And I think I'm around the same age as that gentleman that spoke last week. So I took offense to it, and I just hope that he thinks, when we stand here at this microphone, we have a responsibility of what we say, what comes out of our mouth, because out there is the public listening to us, and we could just turn and put a bad sour taste in anyone's mouth. So I just had to say that tonight, and to say that I was terribly offended. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Jeffries. Next on the list is Ron Ellman.
Hello, Council. You can't wait to start that clock, can you?
We have no control over the clock.
Yeah, I understand. Last week at the Taurus Club, Miss Rosie told me to shut up and sit down and pretend I'm at council. And what I did, I had a couple of armchair generals, I guess you could call them, explain to me that I am just thankless for what's going on in my life. That all this gas and reassessment and everything is being done for me. I'm not thinking of 47 years down the road like Jerry and Debbie are. And here, Jerry leaves his business just so he could make sure that this reassessment goes through with no problem. And poor Debbie, she must have anguish over from what she says, those big crocodile tears for the homeless and not the homeless, but for the seniors and the people that will lose their homes. She said she doesn't know what to do about it. Poor thing, it must break her heart. Well, you know, I know what a sorry SOB I am, but too many people out there, you just don't know who your friends are. This newspaper, almost every day, is some letters of adversity, wanting to keep us apart at each other's throat instead of making peace among the political part. I noticed today when I was walking Chumley at Western Park, they're emptying the pool again. Did they find lifeguards? Last year the pool was perfect and no lifeguards. You know, I don't know about women and cars and stocks and bonds, but I know about swimming pools. A small investment of time and chemicals all winter, you wouldn't have to drain the pool and clean it like they do every year. I took care of Anthony Quinn's pool and Elvis's and the pool at Universal, so I know what I'm talking about. This is a complete waste of time and money for the city. And one other thing. I have in my garage the very first gas pump. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's got fancy paintings and a phone number on it. That it was at the corner of Mulberry and Wyoming before 1900. It's actually what they call an alcohol pump because they didn't have gasoline then. Gulf Oil claims to have the first gas station in 1913 in Pittsburgh. I think the city could very easily use that as the first gas station. And it's in the phone book, even those old phone books that they used to have at the, I think it ought to be elaborated on. Anyway, I'm not going to give it away because I've been offered some money for it. I don't want to sell it. Maybe I'd loan it to the city or something. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ullman. That exhausts the
I
sign.
think I got hay fever or something. This weather is killing me.
I hear you.
My dog's got a runny nose and my cats are sick. I guess it's stuff in the air, I don't know.
That exhausts the sign-in sheet for this evening. Would anyone else like to address council?
Tom Coyne, Manuka. First of all, when the mayor comes in next time, I've already mentioned is Mr. Voldenberg. It would be nice, rather than just a PowerPoint presentation projected on the wall, that the public who wishes to view this be able to go to the City Council's website and download the document 24 hours before the presentation, so we have an opportunity, just as council should before the meeting happens, to review, absorb, and understand what is involved in the documents. I see that the IT department was successful, from my last comment, of putting up photos for every member of City Council. Unfortunately, out of the 5 that are now up there, one of them is center justified and the 4 other are left justified. Incredibly sloppy for just throwing a picture on a website, not to actually make the 4 other pictures centered. It just looks poor. It's an HTML code and 3 seconds to copy it. I had mentioned after the meeting the overgrowth on, I think it's 2601 Cedar Avenue. This is the property that the police had seized with the $1.4 million of marijuana. Well, from the time that the city has put up its condemned notice and cannot enter, that property has been steadily growing grass across the whole front of it because it was owned by a New York group. It's condemned and someone needs to remedy or take a look at it and deal with the overgrowth. At this point, it is getting up to knee high on that corner. And it's a very wide and nice corner in that neighborhood, which now has a field, an impromptu house field growing next to it. As for 3B, the financial notes from the city's law department. It surprises me in looking at them, not only that 80% of them are redacted, but I would figure that just like any other type of business, that any other type of request, an executive session could have been held to give City Council an unredacted view of these documents. It's different publishing them, it's different on whether or not it's released, but City Council should have a complete overview of the unredacted documents.
We had the opportunity to view them unredacted.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. They cited attorney-client privilege, which is all well and good, except when you look at the documentation from the solicitor, it says from a Supreme Court state. I think it is unprofessional to not actually cite the case that they are referencing to make it easier for one solicitor in City Hall to give the information to another solicitor in City Hall. Your solicitor should not have to look up, figure out and look up case law related to that because it wasn't in the document. It should be clear that it was under the 67-102, and it was out of Levi versus the Senate of Pennsylvania, that was the ruling. Why is there no communication that means that not only does that body have to look up the law, but when it comes across to this body, without the detail of where they're pulling those legal references from, this body again has to look up the law and reference it. It should be clear, just like in a courtroom, just in a pleading, that if they state a case that they're holding up against, they should provide the case law references to this body, just to ease not having to do extra expenses. And as far as blacking it out, it should be this body, because the mayor did not authorize this. These bills are paid by the city of Scranton, and this body is as much the city of Scranton as the law department is, as the mayor is, as anyone else. The city is not the mayor. The city is the mayor and city council. Both have equal rights under the law, and you should not be blocked because you are the ones paying the bills just as much. She is not personally paying them out of her own pocket to rule confidentiality. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address council?
Marie Schumacher, citizen of Scranton. I would like to start tonight with saying I just had to pinch myself to say, how in the world could the city find a way to put down the calendar, the addressing of the stormwater in this city? I don't know how many of you read the legal notices, but I was shocked to find a study, RFP for a study. The bids will be in and open on the 1st of July for the East Mountain Stormwater and Drainage Study. Now, how many times have we done a study of the entire city? I mean, the places that are Froud Avenue, East Mountain Road on the one side where the stream goes behind and goes into people's cellars. I mean, I just don't understand why. I don't know how long this is going to go on, but when are we going to start doing something, actually doing something about stormwater?
So this
is a kick.
I'll address that in 50.
Okay, this, to me, it's just a kick the can down the road again. Has anybody ever, different subject, because we know Joan's going to talk and ask about the audit from between now and God knows when.
I have an update there as well.
Okay, what do you have?
I have an update that I'll share in fifth order.
Okay, thank you. 5F. That is the one where the city wants to hire for the city to execute and enter into an agreement with Nossaman LLP to provide federal government affairs services. I do not think we need a lobbyist. We don't need to spend that kind of money. And I look at it as lack of transparency, too. If there's something that they need, that the city needs from the federal government, why don't they come to the citizens and say, write to your congressman, write to your senator, you can even, well, no, don't bother with him, but why do we need a a lobbyist. It's just taking one more instance. Somebody is going to tell this person what they want down there. I don't think we need one, and I hope none of you will vote in favor of this. We did have, talked about the legal department. I assume you all read the Times Tribune. It was just a few short weeks ago that there was an article in the paper about the mayor hiring a woman from Luzerne County as one of our many assistant solicitors, $45,000 part-time. Now, does she live in the city of Scranton? That is a requirement. Did anybody ask? Did anybody read the article? And you didn't ask? Or you did?
Yeah, I did ask, and I was told that she's moving.
She's what, moving?
Moving to the city.
She was here tonight, and I spoke with her, and she does have plans to move into the city.
When?
She has 6 months.
Yeah, she has
She has
6
6
months.
months.
Yep, anyone does.
So
Okay.
a waiver didn't come to us to allow her not to. So that means she has 6 months to move in.
Okay, well, keep on it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address council?
Good evening, Dave Dobson, resident. Okay, we're talking about the pool tonight, and I thought it was also my idea last week to expand that old bathhouse. It wasn't really a bathhouse. It was just an entryway and lavatories, but it has modern electrical and modern plumbing in it, so a good way to save money and keep it in consideration. I'd also like to mention that over the years we've had problems with lifesavers. We need maybe a deal where they could go down Weston Field like high school swimmers or whatever and get a summer job for themselves, because currently Lackawanna State Park Pool is closed due to lack of lifeguards. I have some articles here. I'm going to run them over quick. Can keep them on. It's already burned into my computer up here. About Doug Mastriano, and it's several articles on how he plans to make everybody re-register and contrary to federal law for voting, and on and on and on and on and on. And he's also being subpoenaed by the current committee in Washington Congress to answer some questions about his doings on January 6th. From what I can see, he also has selected Jenna Ellis, one of the Giuliani bunch, for lieutenant governor. I mean, really? She may have a law license someday, who knows? And on the hospital, they mentioned years ago, I talked to some engineers, operating engineers, and they said that a building really can't go in Scranton much above 8 stories, maybe 10, because of our mining. The whole city is mined out under us here. So at any rate, but the idea is if we limit them to 40 feet, which it would impose on people's homes possibly, but then will they need all the more land and all the more blocks, 2 or 3 more blocks up in the hill section, and that's getting massive. And there aren't good roads into that in the first place. It was a small community hospital. And once again, get your vaccinations, even if you do have a problem. Get to the doctors. If you do, I have to wear this mask. I'll wind up, my wife will beat me if she sees me on television without my mask. I'll have to call the police on her. You know, they said, no more black eyes, lady. Just kidding, but, and there was several different point of interest. Presidential, Teddy Roosevelt, that's over with, and last weekend, John Dean from Watergate fame was on the CNN. Teddy Roosevelt was on 31, the History Channel, Comcast. It was very interesting, and it would pay to announce it, and hopefully it'll come around again. Anyway, we really don't need somebody like that in the governor's office. There's just quickly a man from Florida, he's a senator. He wants to re-legislate Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, every 5 years.
Thank you, Mr. Dobson.
Thank you. That's a little much.
Would anyone else like to address council?
Good evening, Council. Darwin Shaw, Scranton resident. I'm sorry. I just got thrown for a loop, all the situations that happened. But let me stay on focus. Mr. King, if you don't mind, I love you, man, but I don't mean no offense, but I have to ask you. Do you know how many garbage trucks DPW has available to utilize to picking up the trash in the city? Because our garbage right now, it's behind schedule, and I'm only assuming that is either because of manpower or equipment, honestly. Number 2 would be flood mitigation. I lost my car due to the storm we had on Friday, and certain areas that I didn't know, it seems like the man covers are on a mechanism that relieves pressure. So instead of all that water flowing through the pipe, the covers lift up and it lets all the water come out. Due to that, the area by DPW, North Main Avenue, we'll say the Platte and Green Ridge, it got flooded for a little bit until the water subsided and was able to run through the pipes that it needed to. And I'm honestly gonna assume that is because of cloggage in the draining due to the street sweepers, and it's not being timed properly, matching with the citizens when they're gonna go off of work, and when the street sweeper is gonna come to clean the streets, it's only pushing the trash and debris in the gutters, which is gonna cause a bigger problem. More pipes are gonna explode. Number 3, about the pool. If we can, due to the ARP funding or the American Rescue Plan funding, say throw at least their $24 million into the pool in Naog and extend a botanical garden, and also extend access to people who like art and culture and even music to not only develop our own cities, form a state park, but form natural revenue. That can take about 2 years, you would say, if we had this payroll preparation tax properly, because as it is right now, it looks like we all dropped the ball, including me, because I could have debated better on the payroll preparation tax instead of the business mercantile tax. Right now, if things don't get situated, it looks like the city's gonna have to go into receivership on top of the contracts that are going and being negotiated, and they go into arbitration. Only reason we will go into receivership because, like you gentlemen know, and ladies, you can't claim bankruptcy, so you have to raise property tax on every area. That is gonna be a big, big issue if the mayor alone does not have the proper individuals she needs sitting in the seats to help her and delegate her get through these problems. To the new city solicitor, I like you. Way to fight, way to address people when they ask you questions honestly, in a truthful manner. That is an open law container, and local law doesn't supersede federal law, so there's nothing that anybody can do about having alcohol inside of ice cream. It shouldn't leave the building, honestly. Number 4, thank you so much for taking consideration Juneteenth as an African American and us understanding each other's culture. I'm very happy about that. And also I would like to see if not only African Americans can get acknowledged, everybody, because it's more than African Americans in Scranton, Pennsylvania. We have Irish, we have Indians, we have everybody, Italians. I would like to see if everybody can get recognized, because we all do go through trials and tribulations, and we all have been through slavery, every last one of us. And then I would like to say great job, way to keep you guys' heads up during this horrible time. This is bad. And also, the flood mitigation system, when American Water, you would say, upgrades their water systems and goes green, what are we planning on doing when we have to buy back the sewer authority system, like the pipes and everything? Are we stable enough to not only sustain those materialistic things, or can we even replace them? Honestly, because if we cannot take on that burden, and they're going to sell it back to us, they have to, because they shouldn't have had it in the first place. Are we able to maintain that? Because if we can't maintain that, and then the business mercantile tax falls away, and then we're overtaxing citizens and they leave Scranton, Pennsylvania, the city's going to implode on itself, and all this hard work will be for no reason, honestly. And then, happy Flag Day, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Rothchild, for addressing the Juneteenth situation, honestly, thank you. Thank you, Mr. McAndrew, for standing up. Thank you, Mr. Donahue, especially you, Mr. Schuster, for catching the omitting and the deleting of documentations when it came to our finances. And thank you, Mr. Voldenberg, honestly, for the lack of manpower and the lack of equipment, and including the funding and cooperation for you standing up and helping our public workers. Not only for me, but from a lot of my friends, because they do work for the city. And to keep up the good work, honestly.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Would anyone else like to address council this evening? Mr. Voldenberg?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. King, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes. I recall meeting a while back with Mr. Preamble, and he gave me a number of pack masters, and I can't, off the top of my head, remember the exact number, but I'll get that number for you.
It's 11, I think.
Also, under 3G, under third order, the payroll preparation tax, can we ask Mr. Voldenberg, the administration, if they can meet with Mr. Laser and Attorney McGovern to really talk about their concerns? I'd rather see if there are issues with this payroll preparation tax, I'd rather see them worked out now and catch something before we end up in litigation. So if the mayor and the administration could meet with Mr. Laser and Attorney McGovern, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
I'll reach out in the morning, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Schuster, do you have any motions or comments?
Yeah, I have a few. So, first, I had a question. I'm not sure if it was last week or the week prior, but back in March, I sent some inquiries about exempt and non-exempt employees. I did get somewhat of a response from the HR director. So it was stated that there's a supervisor that just switched from exempt to non-exempt, and she stated that the supervisor position was made non-exempt because other supervisors, which would be considered equal, are also non-exempt. But she does not expect to see overtime to be an issue. It's a very rare situation that it would be required. I do say this because last year I spoke about it quite a bit with DPW administration. We exceeded that line item by over 700%. And at this point in time this year, we're at about 73% utilized in highways and 40% used in the garage section there. To address Joan and also Marie's question, a few weeks back, I did inquire to BA West about the audit. Mr. Donahue says he has an update tonight, but I did not hear back from him for over a couple weeks. In the IT department, Ms. Jeffries, Jack Rieger in the IT department was able to get that up on the site, and he made some other updates, so I'd like to thank him for his help there. Frank, I have an address, so 137 and 139 South Fillmore Street. This is a home, if we could have the inspectors go out to that address to see where we stand. It was a home that was on fire at one point in time, but now it's standing with nothing being done at this point. Also, can we send correspondence over to BA West to see if we can get an update on where we are with HGC, with the regional stormwater, and where we are with our MS4 compliance, if there's any updates on that. And that's all.
Dr. Rothchild, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, I have a few tonight. A couple are in response to what some people said during citizens' participation. The first one I just wanted to address was about boozy bees. I know our solicitor had mentioned that it was state law and not local law, but also this is their second location, so they are currently open in Pittston. So they have to be doing well to want to open a second location. I'm really proud that they want to come here to the city. I think it'll be a great business to add to the downtown section and to Penn Avenue along there. So I'm looking forward to that. But I don't believe that law has hindered their business that they already have in Pittston. And then the second thing was in reference to Juneteenth. I did mention the celebration last week and this week during my comments. It's an event that I've attended previously, and very much in support of the Black Scranton Project and the Juneteenth celebration, and I expect to be there this weekend as well. And then the next thing that I want to bring up, over the weekend there was the March for Our Lives that was held downtown, which I had attended, and that had started 4 years ago, and I had also attended back then. That was started with the Parkland shooting initially, and is something that they felt the need to hold again because we continue to be in the state in our country where mass shootings are happening so often, and gun violence is a major issue. And I'm very interested in doing whatever I can in my position and role with the city to help prevent gun violence in our city and to address it. And I know we're limited in what abilities we have here on council and because of preemption with state law. But I feel there are still other things that we could be working to do. One of those things, I've met with the chief of police about a number of things, one of them being what we're doing as a city to address gun violence and ways that we can prevent it. And I went on a ride-along over the weekend with several police officers, which was very insightful and helpful to see them in action. And that's something I plan on doing again with them too. Something else that I was considering was holding a community active shooter training with the police department that anyone would be welcome to attend, anyone who wants to learn how to deal with an active shooter situation. I think that's helpful training that I would like to have. And I mean, I'm honestly afraid for my daughter for when she is school age and she has to go to school. I don't know how I'll deal with that. It makes me emotional just thinking about it. So like I said, I'm very passionate about doing what I can to help our city. And I also was very offended by the speaker last week who had brought up fatherless households and how that might have an impact, and that people who grew up to become killers or to commit gun violence or offenses is because somehow related to growing up in a fatherless household, which is just total BS. I don't see the relevance, and I also find it highly offensive. So please, when you come here, be careful of your words, because it could be very hurtful and harmful to others, and we all want to be respectful here. I think that's everything that I had to say on that topic. And then the one last thing, I just wanted to address a property that's on Prescott Avenue, and I'm not sure if I had brought it up here before. It's something that I've been working on with the administration, with various departments for a few weeks. It's on the 400 block near Turkey Hill. It had a fire that took place in March, and so the property was condemned, and then there was trash that was left out in the front of the property ever since then, and the trash has actually been building up, and there's been a number of issues and complaints with that property, but we have been communicating with the homeowner and the property manager, and that's something that is being taken care of slowly but surely. So if anyone is wondering about that, I know I've received complaints about it. There's a dumpster now in the front of the building, and they are actively doing some work on it. During the storm, I believe last week, there was a hole that opened up in the sidewalk, a sizable hole, and so that will be, I believe, the property owner's responsibility, something else that they will need to take care of to make sure that it's safe and that the sidewalk is usable for anyone who's traveling on that street. That's everything that I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. McAndrew, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, I do, a couple. So, to answer the question about how many garbage and recycle trucks we have in the city, there is 11.
There's 11 garbage.
Or 11 garbage, I'm sorry. There's 11 garbage, and they're only running 10, all right? So that leads into an issue that I'm going to bring forward is, so they're only running 10 trucks instead of 11. So what happens when you do that? You get behind on garbage. I received multiple complaints this week about Ryerson Court, all right? Garbage has not been picked up since the last call was made on last Wednesday. So I don't know if their pickup is Tuesday, but the call started on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to pick up this garbage. And my understanding is, and of course, this is no fault of the drivers and the workers. This is the fault of administration saying they're following and using the systems. Them systems that they refer to is that Rubicon program that I voted against last year because I thought at some point it would become punitive. So guess what? Who's suffering right now with garbage sitting in front of their property for a week? So it is punitive, and it's the residents who pay their garbage fees. All right, so with that said, Mr. Voldenberg, please call over there and make sure that, this garbage gets picked up. This is beyond ridiculous. And secondly, I want Rubicon, who was supposed to save us over $1 million a year, right? We had to spend 100 and some grand for this tracking system that I was against because I believed that it would end up being punitive, and guess who's suffering. But so if it's supposed to save us $1 million, right now it's implemented at least half a year. So I want them to come in, and I don't need, even though I know that we have, I don't want the excuse being that the DPW director is out on leave. We don't need him to come in. We need Rubicon to come in, and I want an update from them. All right, because obviously there's problems happening using this system, supposedly. All right, and since I'm talking about this, I was going to wait for the vote on the Juneteenth resolution. This has nothing to do with the resolution, but I'm getting concerns and questions about who's off and who's on. Who's celebrating the holiday within the city employees, right? I get that, the public safety unions who protect and serve 24 hours a day probably have to work with an MOU with their contract to have another day off versus that day. That makes sense. That's in my world too, where I work. But everybody else is scheduled off, okay? So with everybody else being scheduled off, I looked at my garbage pickup calendar on my refrigerator, And it's scheduled, DPW scheduled for a day off. It's in purple. Monday is their observant, they're off. So there was some back and forth emails today from the HR director where, oh yeah, they are off. And then an updated email said, no, we're still talking about it. Let's see if they're off. So, but then I heard from some workers that, no, they're not off, but they have to report, but they're not gonna pick up garbage, which doesn't make any sense. So, and guess what? So Juneteenth, they're observing it Monday, is a holiday. And what do most people do with holidays? You make plans to surround yourself with friends and family and plan on a holiday. So as right now, they don't know if they're off, they don't know if they're being called in and not being put on trucks. So, and then emails we got, you know, one said yes, one said no. So could you please inquire to clarify this for these workers so they know the status of Monday? Because it's, you know, tomorrow's Wednesday, you know how quick the week goes.
I will, sir.
All right, what else do I have? All right, so last year we did a traffic study on St. Anne Street. There was angled parking on St. Anne Street for, I'm gonna be 60, it's longer than that. All of a sudden it went away, right? So, and we were told because there was no ordinance for it. That's fine. So I asked for a traffic study to be conducted, because it's the widest street around, okay? And a traffic study was supposedly done by the previous engineer. Did I receive a study on behalf of the residents of St. Anne's? No, I received an email that, no, you can't do it, and because there wasn't an ordinance. All right, so I waited. So then my neighbors, of course, are still complaining that they, you know, because that study was done supposedly, I never saw the study, just an email, that it was done at 90 degrees, which is unrealistic. Who's going to park a car at 90 degrees on any street, no matter how wide it is? So I waited for the new engineers to get in, get settled in. I received a letter from concerned residents in that area, not just St. Anne Street, that they want another study done. So we sent it over. We didn't hear anything yet, right? So can you please send that letter over again and request that we want a study at a 30-degree angle, all right? Which pretty much lines out with the statute from the state. So I'd like a response from them. They're settled in now, this new engineering firm, so they really didn't get a response. All they said was going to honor last study, but the last study was 90 degrees. So please read that we want it at 30 degrees, all right?
I'll take care of it, sir.
Thank you. And then Ms. Hodowanis made a great point, all right? So we get this quarterly code enforcement report, all right? And it's every section of the city but you live in, right? So, I mean, everybody loves their part of the city. I'm no different. So can you please send correspondence over to OECD and make sure that their next quarterly report includes Central City and their residents and their concerns.
If I may just respond, I had asked about that, and downtown is included currently under the Hill section. So it's not that they're being excluded from the report, but it's just not separated. So Ms. Cipriani will see if there's a way to separate that out.
Well, you're going to feel that you're not included when it's not explained to you, even in the report. I'm just saying that would be my take on it. And what else do I have here? So I agree with Councilman Kinger. We talked about it in caucus. We received that letter from Attorney McGovern and Mr. Laser. All right? We've been trying to get this payroll prep tax straight for years. We extended Act 47, 18 months to get it right. And I really don't believe we got it right with this new letter. So I agree. Let's set up something, send correspondence down, so our legal department takes a deeper dive and takes a better look at it before we end up with a problem that, you know, we could correct right now. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple things. In terms of the audit, we did get an update last week from the auditors, and they laid out a schedule of exactly what they'll need and a due date for when they need it in hand for it to be completed by September 30th. So there's a bunch of lists under June 20th as one of the dates, and then the second date is August 1st. So we will follow up next week to make sure that the auditors were given everything that they put out on their June 20th date, and then also August 1st for everything else they need by those dates in order to complete the audit in full by September 30th. In terms of East Mountain stormwater, so if you remember about a year ago, there was a study put out regarding Kaiser Valley stormwater. Those engineering studies need to be on the shelf in order to apply for grants. So in order to expedite the application of these grants, Kaiser Valley was put out first, East Mountain was put out next, and it's more so the above ground drainage and basins. So that's why that's being done, so that we could then start applying for grants to then, try to get $2 out of one in terms of the money that's set aside from ARPA to use it as a match instead of paying for the project in full there. Couple other things I have. Mr. Voldenberg, could you reach out to DPW? I got a couple complaints and requests for some patching on Murphy Court from 2600 block to the 2800 block of Murphy Court. And as we move into the summer, it's getting into fireworks and ATV season again, where those complaints start coming in. So, Mr. Voldenberg, could we check with Chief Carroll? I know he was working on a strategy in terms of ATVs, but also on fireworks as well. In terms of fireworks, our hands were sort of tied with some preemption laws on the statewide level, but some good news on that front. The State House of Representatives passed legislation last week. It's House Bill 2157 that gives more local governments more tools to fight the use of illegal fireworks. One of the things that it does is it gives local police departments the ability to seize fireworks as evidence that are set off illegally, because they can't seize those now. A couple other things it does, if enacted into law, penalties imposed under the bill would be violating the use of consumer fireworks fine would increase from $100 to $500. Violating the sale of consumer fireworks fine would be not less than $10,000. The current fine is $5,000. Violating the sale or use of display fireworks would not be less than $10,000. Same for federally illegal explosives, and then also higher grades if a subsequent offense for the same violation results in a conviction within 3 years of the first conviction. So that is some promising news there. It is going to the state senate for consideration on that front. And that's all I have for this evening. Mr. Voldenberg?
Could I just add one more thing? I forgot. I apologize. I didn't include it. This also has to do with DPW. It's been brought to my attention that the inspection license at DPW is still under the name of the previous BA and the previous DPW director. That probably can present an issue. So, Mr. Voldenberg, could you please contact administration and ask if this is the truth? And if so, when are they going to change it and put the proper names on it?
I will.
All right. Thank you.
So I'm also going to jump in there as well, Mr. Voldenberg. On the Rubicon request, Mr. McAndrew requested to see if we can get a presentation given to us on Rubicon. To add to that, could we ask the question, is this system being utilized daily? And then how much have we saved to date with the implementation of this system?
I'll ask those questions, sir.
Thank you. And also one more, this is just a comment on the report we got from OECD that we discussed downtown and in the Hill section. The pie graph, if we could just make a suggestion that the color codes in that pie graph just be changed to be more contrasting. There were various shades of teal. I really couldn't tell which entities were putting in the complaints. Thank you.
I'll take care of it. 5B, for introduction, an ordinance establishing a no parking zone along the easterly side of Pittston Avenue, State Route 3023, beginning 100 feet from the northerly curb line of Beach Street and continuing for a distance of 65 feet to to allow for safe site distances for a proposed driveway at 819 Pittston Avenue.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second?
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5C for introduction, a resolution, reappointment of Karen A. DeSantis, 1105 Summit Point, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18508, to the Civil Service Commission. This formal reappointment will coincide with the term of Mayor Paige G. Cognetti.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second?
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5D for introduction, a resolution, reappointment of Elizabeth M. Garcia, Esquire, 1135 Olive Street, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18510, to the Civil Service Commission. This formal reappointment will coincide with the term of Mayor Paige G. Cognetti.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5D be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5E for introduction, a resolution, appointment of Walter Barron, 1016 Luke Avenue, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18510, to the Civil Service Commission, replacing Kevin Morgan, who resigned April 4th, 2022. Mr. Barron's term will be effective upon execution of the within resolution and will expire with the term of Mayor Paige G. Cognetti.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5E be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved?
Second.
On the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5F for introduction, a resolution authorizing the mayor, Office of Economic and Community Development officials, and other appropriate city officials for the city of Scranton to execute and enter into an agreement with Nossaman LLP to provide federal government affairs services.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5F be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved?
Second.
On the question?
On the question, so this is being reintroduced. I voted no for it last time, and I'm voting no for the same reason. So first of all, I'll wait for that fire truck to go by. So first of all, we have very competent staff that work for Senator Casey and Congressman Cartwright that live right here with us in our backyard. Congressman Cartwright is on the Appropriations Committee. What does he do? He gets money. He's in the paper and on Facebook almost every day bringing tons of money to Luzerne County, right? So they are our advocates. We vote for them to be our advocates or lobbyists, right? So the same goes for the mayor, like I said, that's part of her responsibility. And I know we got a letter sent back with the reintroduction saying, well, you know, $4,000 a month isn't bad if we get like one grant for $500,000. Well, you can spend $4,000 a month on scratch-offs for a year and maybe not win $500,000, all right? This money's better spent somewhere else, all right? Because we have people in place that are paid and elected to do this for us. And then secondly, you know, I didn't bring it up the last time because this is my main concern, but there's a conflict. The mayor worked for this man, all right? So that in itself is a conflict to me. So I'll be voting no. I'm not reconsidering. I'll be voting no to introduce. Thank you.
Anyone else on the question?
Yes, on the question, I'll also be voting no. Mr. McAndrew covered his points pretty succinctly. I'll just say that this is the second or third time that something has been voted down by council and has been reintroduced, so I'm just letting my other members know I don't want to make this a habit, but I will be voting no for item 5F.
Anyone else on the question? All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
The ayes have it, and so moved.
Sixth order, 6A, no business at this time. Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for adoption, Resolution Number 90, 2022, adopting Juneteenth as a public holiday in the city of Scranton, celebrated annually on June 19th.
As chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Dr. Rothschild?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes, I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
Eighth order, 8A, file of the council number 9, 2022.
This piece of legislation is the updated zoning ordinance. It's continued to be tabled to allow for additional input and any changes.
8B, resolution number 82, 2022.
This piece of legislation is a liquor license transfer. It has been tabled to allow for a public hearing, which was held this evening. It will be on the agenda next week for a final vote. If there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.